Are you ready to face your deepest fears? In this dark corner of the internet, we dive into stories that will make you question everything you thought you knew. Shadows lurk, secrets whisper, and what's waiting in the dark may be closer than you think. Subscribe and step into a world where nightmares are real, and you're the next one to experience them. We think we've seen it all. There are always things that lie beyond our comprehension. Some places hold secrets that only the dead can understand. Some stories. They're not just stories, they are warnings haunting us from the other side. Tonight, we'll take you into a place where the boundary between the living and the dead becomes blurry, where the souls of the departed refuse to rest. These are 7 true, disturbing cemetery tales that will not let you sleep easily, ever again. Story 1. The Whispering Grave. In a forgotten part of town lies a cemetery, a place where time seems to stand still. People don't speak of it. They simply avoid it. But there are whispers. Whispers that call to you. One evening, a young man, curious and brave, decided to find the source of the voices. The wind whispered his name, and the air grew colder as he approached the oldest grave. He touched the stone, and then the whispers grew louder, surrounding him. When he looked up, the ground trembled, and from the grave, a hand, a cold, lifeless hand, reached out to drag him under. His scream was the last sound that echoed through the cemetery that night. No one saw him again. Mama, Nagdius, Alice. Story 2. The Crying Widow. There's a cemetery hidden deep in the woods where at night the sound of a woman crying can be heard. It is said she's waiting for the return of her husband who passed away years ago. But there's something strange about her. She never tells anyone her name. When asked why she cries, she simply replies, "I'm waiting for him to come back to me." But one night a brave soul approached her, drawn by the sound of her sorrow. When he asked her why she wept, she turned to face him. Her eyes were hollow, her skin peeling off, as if her grief had consumed her. She wasn't just crying for a lost love. She was crying because she could never escape the torment of her own death. The man ran, but the memory of her face haunted him forever. Story 3. The Ghost of the Forgotten Soldier. In a forgotten cemetery, there is a grave that no one dares to approach. It's the grave of a soldier who died in an unknown war, a soldier whose name was erased from history. But every year, on the anniversary of his death, the cemetery comes alive with strange activity. Ghostly figures dressed in battle-worn uniforms march through the graveyard, their footsteps echoing in the cold night air. A young man, desperate for answers, decided to investigate. He followed the figures to the grave, only to realize the soldiers were not walking. No, they were dragging something. And that something was him. The man never returned. And the soldiers, they still marched through the cemetery, looking for their next lost soul. No. Story 4. The Phantom Child. In a cemetery far from the city, a child's laughter echoes through the air, though no child can be seen. The story goes that this child died too young and was buried with no family to mourn him, but still his spirit wanders, calling out to anyone who passes by. One night, a couple, hearing the faint giggles, decided to investigate. They followed the laughter, and it led them to an old gravestone. As they approached, they could see the outline of a small figure, but when they called out to the child, everything went still. The temperature dropped, and the air turned thick with dread. The last thing they heard was a whisper, "You're too late." And then the laughter turned into a shrill, terrifying scream that seemed to come from all around them. Story 5. Faye, Cemetery Keeper's Secret. There's a man who has spent his entire life tending to a cemetery that no one dares visit. He has no family, no friends, just the dead to keep him company. Each day, he walks from grave to grave, murmuring soft words to the stones, as though speaking to old friends. One evening, a passerby, curious about his ritual, asked him why he speaks to the graves. The keeper turned to him, a twisted smile creeping across his face, and replied, "They are not graves. They are my family." The next day, the passerby returned, only to find that the keeper had vanished. His shadow lingered on the gravestones, but the man himself was never seen again. Story 6. The Mirror of Lost Souls. There's a mirror buried deep beneath the roots of an ancient tree in a cemetery. Some say it reflects more than just your image. It reflects the souls of the lost. One man, overcome with curiosity, dug up the mirror and gazed into its cracked surface. What he saw was not his own face, but the face of a woman. Her expression was one of agony, as if she had been trapped in the mirror for eternity. As he stared, the reflection began to move, her hand reaching out to him, begging him to come closer. But before he could react, the mirror shattered. The pieces scattered on the ground, but the woman's voice, now louder than ever, continued to call his name. The man never left the cemetery. His body was never found, but the mirror, now whole again, was found facing his grave. Story 7. The Tombstone That Moves. In a cemetery near the outskirts of town, there's a tombstone that never stays in one place. Every month it moves. No one can explain it, but no one dares to touch it either. One day, a man determined to solve this mystery went to the cemetery and began to dig around the tombstone. When he reached the base, he uncovered an inscription that had never been seen before. But as he read the words aloud, the earth began to tremble. Thus, tombstone rolled away, revealing the body of a long-dead man. And in the cold silence, a voice whispered, "Now you know." And that man, he was never seen again. The tombstone once again resumed its ease, journeying across the graveyard, seeking out the next person foolish enough to uncover its secret.